Maya was halfway through folding laundry when she saw it. Just a flicker. A tiny, sharp glint of light in the corner of her eye. She froze. The bedroom was dim except for the afternoon sunlight spilling through the blinds, so the sparkle stood out like a grain of glass in the dark. She turned her head slowly, scanning the room. It came from the bookshelf. She set the laundry basket down without a sound and walked over. The glint disappeared. She bent lower, squinting, then shifted her head. There again. It was coming from the hollow ceramic owl her husband, Daniel, had bought at a flea market 2 months ago. He joked it was ugly enough to be interesting. Her fingers brushed over its surface. Cool, smooth. She lifted it. That's when her stomach tightened. Inside the hollow, wedged near the top, was a pinhole. Barely visible unless the light hit just right. It wasn't a crack in the ceramic. It was a lens. Her heart started to pound, slow but heavy. She turned the owl over, finding a faint seam where the base could be removed. She hesitated, then twisted. It clicked open in her hands, revealing a nest of wires and a thumbnail-sized black device with a tiny red light blinking once, then off again. A camera. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Her mind scrambled for answers. Maybe it was broken. Maybe it was leftover from before they bought it. Maybe. She reached for her phone and searched the device name printed faintly on the back. In seconds, the truth stared back at her. Wi-Fi-enabled micro camera. Remote access. Live stream capable. Her mouth went dry. She sat on the bed, gripping the owl in both hands, forcing herself to think. The feed had to be going somewhere. Whoever planted it could be watching right now. She switched to her laptop, fingers trembling, and scanned for connected devices on their home network. One stood out, Office DK01. Daniel's office computer. Her pulse thudded in her ears. She clicked to access the shared directory and found a folder labeled simply, Private. Inside were dozens of files, video thumbnails of her bedroom. Some recent. Some from weeks ago. Her skin went cold. But it was worse than that. Some files had been renamed with usernames she didn't recognize. Others had upload timestamps, tags. She clicked one by accident, and her own face stared back at her on the screen. Unaware, in her own room, dressing. A buzzing started in her head, like her mind was short-circuiting. Daniel wasn't just watching her. He was sharing her. Her legs felt like they might give out. She wanted to slam the laptop shut, smash the camera, scream until the walls shook. But her instincts told her to do none of that. Not yet. Because if she made a sound, if she let on that she knew, she'd lose her only chance to figure out just how deep this went. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Leaving the office soon. Can't wait to see you. She stared at the screen, a hollow rage settling into her bones. She needed a plan. And she had about an hour to make one. Maya stared at the owl on the bed like it was a live grenade. The blinking red light had gone dark, but she knew better. These things didn't just turn off. Someone had to shut them down. Her first instinct was to yank the wires out, stomp on the pieces, and shove them into the trash. But then she thought of the videos. The usernames. The tags. Destroying the camera wouldn't erase what was already out there. And if Daniel was sharing those videos, she'd need proof. Solid, undeniable proof. She closed the owl, set it back exactly where it had been, and took a picture of the bookshelf, every angle, so she could return it without a trace. Then she grabbed her phone, opened a Fresh Notes app, and began typing everything she'd seen, every file name she could remember. Her hands shook so hard she had to retype half of it. The front gate creaked open. Maya's breath caught. She glanced at the clock, 30 minutes earlier than expected. The sound of Daniel's car door slamming outside made her pulse leap. She shoved the laptop under the bed and straightened the blankets like nothing had happened. The front door opened. "Babe." His voice was casual, warm. It almost made her sick. "In here," she called, steady as she could manage. He appeared in the doorway, tie loosened, smile easy. He kissed her on the cheek. "You okay? You look, I don't know, pale." "Just tired," she said. Her throat felt tight. "Been cleaning all day." He chuckled, dropping his briefcase on the chair. "Don't overdo it. We've got the fundraiser this weekend. Need my gorgeous wife looking her best." She forced a smile. "Of course." He walked to the closet, humming under his breath. Maya watched him from the corner of her eye. Every movement felt wrong now. His familiar presence was suddenly dangerous, like sharing a room with a stranger wearing her husband's skin. While he showered, she slipped into his office. She'd only been in here a handful of times. He liked his private workspace. It smelled faintly of coffee and his cologne. The desk was clean, almost too clean. But the desktop tower under it had a tiny USB device plugged into the back. She crouched, snapping a photo before carefully sliding it out and slipping it into her pocket. She'd figure out what it did later. Footsteps in the hall. She hurried out, heart slamming in her chest, pretending to be arranging books on the shelf when he came back in, toweling his hair. Thinking of rearranging again? He teased. She shrugged. Just dusting. He smiled, but his eyes lingered on the ceramic owl for a second longer than they should have. She caught it. That flicker. And in that moment she knew, he wasn't just aware of the camera. He was checking if it was still working. Maya lay awake that night, her mind refusing to shut down. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that blinking red light in the owl's hollow body and Daniel's casual smile in the doorway. She waited until his breathing turned heavy beside her, then slid silently out of bed. She took her phone, the USB stick she'd swiped from his office, and tiptoed to the kitchen. The dim light from the fridge was enough to see by. Her friend Layla worked in IT security. They hadn't spoken much lately, but Maya didn't have the luxury of pride. She typed out a message, "Need help. Urgent. Can't explain in text. Call me ASAP." The phone buzzed almost instantly. Layla's voice came through in a whisper. "What's wrong?" Maya explained in fragments, keeping her voice low. "The camera. The files. The usernames. The USB stick." Layla didn't interrupt, just listened. When Maya finished, there was a pause. "Plug the USB into your laptop," Layla said finally. "But do it offline. No Wi-Fi." Maya switched the laptop to airplane mode and slid the drive in. Her hands were clammy. The folder that popped up was labeled client_vault. Inside were subfolders, dozens of them, each with a first name, a date range, and what looked like payment records. Some had her name. Most didn't. "Okay," Layla said on the line. "Those look like customer folders. This isn't just him watching you, Maya. This looks like a subscription service." The words hit like a slap. "What do you mean, subscription?" Maya whispered. "I mean, these are organized like paying clients. Dates match video uploads. And the payment logs," she trailed off. "This isn't small. If he's doing what it looks like, it's a network." Maya's stomach twisted. She clicked a random folder, Elena_6.22-9.22, and froze. Videos. All shot from the same kind of hidden angles. Different bedrooms. Different women. Her chest tightened until she could barely breathe. He's not just recording me." "Maya," Layla's tone was heavy. "I think this is bigger than you. If he's involved in this, there could be a lot of victims." Maya sat back in her chair, the edges of her vision blurring. The betrayal had already cut deep, but now she realized it wasn't just her privacy Daniel had stolen. He was making a living selling stolen pieces of women's lives. Layla's voice came again. "You can't just confront him. You need to go to the police. But first, we need to copy everything. All of it." Maya hesitated, glancing toward the dark hallway where Daniel slept. "If he finds out, that's why you have to be careful. Act normal. Don't let him see the fear." Maya ejected the USB, slipped it back into her pocket, and shut the laptop. From the hallway, the sound of creaking floorboards made her blood run cold. "Maya!" Daniel's voice was low, almost playful. "What are you doing up?" Maya's pulse spiked as Daniel's shadow stretched into the kitchen. She quickly turned the laptop so the screen faced away, forcing her face into something that looked like a sleepy smile. "Couldn't sleep," she said softly. "I was making tea." Daniel leaned against the doorway, watching her in that casual, almost lazy way that used to make her feel safe. Now it made her skin crawl. "At 2 a.m? She nodded, gripping the mug like a shield. "You know me, once I'm awake, I'm awake." His eyes lingered on her for a second too long before he finally said, "All right. Don't stay up all night." He padded back toward the bedroom, his bare feet silent on the hardwood. Maya stood still until she heard the bed springs creak again. Only then did she breathe. She poured the tea she'd been pretending to make and sat at the table, forcing herself to drink it so it wouldn't look suspicious later. The next morning, she slid the USB stick into her purse and left for groceries. Instead, she met Layla at a small cafe across town. Layla's laptop was already open, her face tight with focus. "I copied everything," Layla said without preamble. "And Maya, this isn't just Daniel's thing. Some of these files link back to usernames I've seen before on dark web marketplaces. Maya's stomach churned. So he's part of a bigger ring? Layla nodded grimly. Looks that way. Which means two things: he's dangerous and he's not working alone. Maya's mind flashed with memories. Daniel stepping outside to take late-night calls, locking his office when he left for work, getting defensive when she asked about certain trips. Does this mean the police will arrest him? Maya asked, her voice almost breaking. Layla hesitated. If we give them this now, yes, maybe. But we need to make sure we catch everything. He could claim the videos were planted, that he didn't know. We need something that shows him actively managing this. The thought of going back into his office, back near that owl, made Maya's skin prickle. But she knew Layla was right. That night, she played the role of loving wife with an ease that scared her, laughing at Daniel's jokes, asking about his day, even massaging his shoulders while he worked on his laptop. She pretended to be tired early, kissed him goodnight, and went to bed. But she didn't sleep. At 11:47 p.m., she heard his office chair squeak and the faint clicking of keys. She slid silently out of bed, moving like a shadow down the hall. She peeked just far enough to see him leaning forward, eyes glued to his screen. And there it was, her bedroom, live on his monitor. The feed from the owl camera. She pulled her phone from her pocket and tapped record. Every second counted. She caught the monitor, the streaming interface, and Daniel's reflection in the glass, clear enough to prove it was him. Then the chair creaked again. Daniel turned his head slightly, as if sensing movement. Maya ducked back into the shadows just as Daniel's eyes swept the hallway. She pressed herself against the wall, heart hammering so loud she was sure he could hear it. After a long, tense pause, the office chair squeaked again. The faint glow of the monitor lit the doorway. She slipped into the bedroom, sliding under the covers with exaggerated slowness, forcing her breathing into the rhythm of sleep. 30 seconds later, Daniel patted in. The mattress dipped under his weight. He smelled faintly of soap and coffee, and the closeness made her skin crawl. By morning, she was certain of two things. She had enough proof to ruin him. He was starting to suspect something was off. Over breakfast, Daniel kept watching her between bites of toast, his smile just a little too fixed. You seem distracted lately, he said casually. Just work stuff, she replied, sipping her coffee. What work stuff? You don't work, he teased, but there was a sharp edge under it. She forced a small laugh. Planning to. Just thinking about options. His gaze held hers for a moment, then shifted away. But she didn't miss the way his jaw flexed. That afternoon, while he was at a meeting, she returned to his office. This time, she opened the bottom drawer of his filing cabinet, the one she'd never seen open. Inside were 2 passports, one in his name, one under a different name she didn't recognize. There was also a stack of envelopes thick with cash, and a black notebook filled with numbers, dates, and cryptic notes. She photographed everything, hands trembling, then put it all back exactly as she found it. When she turned toward the door, she froze. The ceramic owl was sitting on his desk now. It wasn't in the bedroom anymore. Her blood went cold. He'd moved it. And if it was still active, that meant it had been recording the whole time she was snooping. Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from Layla. Got a friend in cybercrimes ready to take your case. But we have to move tonight. Maya typed back quickly. He's on to me. The owl's in his office now. A moment later. Then you can't go back in there again. Get out, stay somewhere safe. I'll send a location. But when Maya stepped into the living room, Daniel was already there, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. Find what you were looking for? He asked softly. Too softly. Her throat went dry. I was just cleaning. He smiled without warmth. You've been doing a lot of just cleaning lately. The air between them was electric, thick with the knowledge that they were both playing a game, and one wrong move could blow it open. Then he stepped aside, gesturing toward the front door. Go ahead. Get your groceries. But the way he said it told her he knew exactly where she was going. Maya walked out the front door, every step heavy with the knowledge that Daniel's eyes were on her. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Not if she wanted him to believe she was still under control. She drove to the address Layla sent, an unmarked office building on the edge of town. Inside, 2 detectives and a woman from cybercrimes were waiting. Layla was there, her face drawn tight with urgency. You've got one shot at this, the cybercrimes officer said. Once we move in, he'll know you've been building a case. Do you have what we need? Maya laid it all out, the photos, the USB, the copied files, the video of him streaming the owl's feed. Then she pulled out the final piece. Her phone, still recording from the night before, showing the monitor with her live feed and Daniel's reflection grinning. The detective looked at the evidence and nodded. It's enough. But Maya wasn't done. You can't just arrest him quietly, she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her veins. He hides in the shadows. If you don't drag him into the light, he'll find a way out. They exchanged glances. Then the lead detective said, We can serve the warrant during his fundraiser tonight. Maximum visibility. Hours later, Maya stood just outside the hotel ballroom where Daniel's business gala was in full swing. Through the glass doors, she could see him working the room, all charm and polish. The owl camera sat on a display table as part of a quirky decor arrangement. The officers moved in quietly at first, but when the first pair of handcuffs clicked shut, everything erupted. Gasps, camera flashes, murmurs spreading like wildfire. Daniel's eyes found hers across the room. Shock. Rage. Fear. She stepped forward, voice clear over the chaos. This is for every woman you thought you could own. The cybercrimes officer began reading his rights, her voice flat and firm. Guests whispered to each other, phones filming every second. Daniel tried to speak, but the detective cut him off. Save it for the judge. And then the kicker. The cybercrimes team began pulling open his laptop right there on the bar, projecting the evidence onto the ballroom's massive display screen. Folder after folder of stolen videos flashed before the horrified audience. His perfect image shattered in real time. Maya didn't stay for the rest. She walked out into the cool night air, Layla beside her. A week later, Maya signed the paperwork for her own small apartment. Sunlight streamed across bare walls, and for the first time in months, there were no shadows watching her. No hidden lenses. She unpacked slowly, one box at a time, until she came to a small, folded piece of paper she didn't remember packing. She opened it. In her own handwriting, "You are not prey. You are the hunter." Maya smiled. And for the first time, it wasn't just relief she felt. It was freedom. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you.